the playing, which I'll be there for. And I wanted to say a big congratulations to Coach Finch and his staff for the fine season, but then also for the great news of their extension. It's long been our philosophy that you win with good people, and I'm really excited that's happening on the Wolves side. With that being said, fire away questions about the WNBA draft.
We'll go ahead and open up questions with Jace.
Hey, Cheryl, seeing how it played out, are you one day later, are you pretty happy and comfortable with the deal you made yesterday?
Yeah, and we were comfortable yesterday, but it is interesting to see it play out. We had a really good handle on what was going to be happening. Players that we thought could be there. We knew there'd be a couple surprises. And our estimation was that it was really best, again, because of not the players per se, but because of our choices that were made in free agency and with regard to the players under contract, the limited roster space, that we just didn't want to put these draft prospects in a position that in order to make the team, that we would have to jump through these major hoops to make it happen. And so we just really felt it was best from a draft perspective to sort of turn our attention to the future, possibilities. And that being said, we worked really hard on our 22nd, our 28th pick to ensure that we would have players in camp that we would be able to give a really strong look to, that we would be a little more able, that if their number is called because of situations that we'll have coming out of camp with regard to opening day and final roster, that would best position us. And so we accomplished that at 22 and 28 with Kayla Jones and Hannah Sherman.
Can I ask how, you guys obviously have more intel, how much of a firmer grasp do you have on how the first round is going to play out than maybe the rest of us who are maybe left a little bit surprised for some of the picks?
Well, based on some of the messages I got during the draft, I'd say we have a much better handle on what was happening. Sure. Because I think what happens is, the mock draft, and I tell people that do the mock drafts that are not inside, it's not their fault. You just can't know everything that we know. You don't know what other teams think of players, and despite their name continuing to appear on mock drafts in certain locations that we know is not going to happen. And then also, you can't have the intel of how interviews go and what the real situations are inside with a team's roster. And so we just a little privy to a little more information in that way. And like I said, we work through, in order to do that trade prior to the start of the draft, then that should indicate that we knew who could be there. We vetted that process, that there were a couple players that we liked, and we weighed the idea of those players being with us in camp and subsequent decisions that would have to be made against having an opportunity to have another pick in the first round next year when our roster will be probably in greater need. And that's ultimately what we landed on.
We'll go next question to Kent.
Can you just and kind of give us thumbnails on what you like most about Kayla and Hannah?
Yeah, I watched a lot of NC State, obviously. A couple reasons. They've been really good the last few years. We always go to the ACC tournament. It's a league we enjoy watching, so I feel like we had a really good handle. I enjoyed Kayla Jones a lot last year. And that's when her name was really surfacing, because it's hard to find power forwards with the skill set that she has. 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, the ability to handle the ball. Look at how she passes it on time, on target, to get easy baskets for people. So her willingness to kind of know that she's a distributor, and can shoot the three, lengthy, can get rebounds. So it just was something that, from a skill set standpoint, we do well with, and that's exactly what we told her. She gets to come here and be herself, and give some competition to what we already have. And so that would be the case with Kayla. And also she came highly recommended by the Hart family. Sophie Hart. I think that Sophie was sort of a mentee of Kayla's, but Kayla's really good people. And, like I said about the Wolves, you win with good people. That's long been our philosophy. Everyone we spoke to about Kayla Jones had nothing but tremendous things to say about her, in addition to obviously her game. Hannah Sherman's another player that we go, here's a player that analytically does very well. She's a big who shoots the three. So it gives us an opportunity to add a little bit something different to our group. And, the road is tough, right? As we've talked about, as ESPN talked about a little bit, the road is tough, but I think both of these players are going to be very comfortable playing their games in our training camp, and hopefully position themselves that if it's not on opening day, that if an opportunity presents itself, that maybe it happens at a different time. But at minimum, we think we got, two really good basketball players that come highly recommended, really good people. And, that was probably what we were aiming for in this draft.
We'll go next question to Jack.
Hey, Cheryl. I know obviously with Damaris's injury and Fee not being around right away at the start of the season, just how excited are you for both the players you selected to be able to come in and learn from players like Angel McCautry and Sylvia Fowles right away from day one? Yeah.
Natalie Achanwa, these are all vets. I think those three are pretty excited, about being able to be leaders and mentors for some of the younger players. I think it's it's a good situation to be in, and that there is opportunity. It's kind of like I said, some things have to happen for the opportunities to present themselves, but we have, without Fee, don't know how long on Dantas. Jess Shepard is still competing overseas. And so there's opportunity early in the camp, especially. And so I think that allows a player to get comfortable. And so, we'll throw them right to it and see what they can do.
And then going off of that, you mentioned with both players that you feel great about them being to come in and play their games and be themselves right away. Just from an evaluation standpoint, how important is it for you to be able to bring players in who are comfortable in their games and know that they'll be able to fit in with what you do right away, as opposed to maybe, a best player available pick who may not be the best fit?
Yeah. Well, we thought that was important as well, that we didn't select anybody that, we put in that position. That's easier to do later in the draft. It becomes very positional when you move to the second round. Like I said, we spent a lot of time through all the picks. And then once we moved those two picks, we really locked in on the last day and a half about who those players would be that would fit us. And then obviously as the board moves, we had some other players in there, and as they leave, you kind of go, okay, we were fortunate that we felt like positional need wise, we were able to have that happen for them. And so I do think that's important, that they're able to, like I said, fill a need and get opportunity.
We'll go next to Mitchell.
Cheryl, you kind of talked about Hannah a little bit, but I kind of wanted to circle back with her. I know in the past, obviously you like what she can do from a basketball standpoint, but I know in the past with third round picks, you've tend to kind of go with that the University of Minnesota player, kind of that has a cool story that goes along with it. What would you, or I guess what could you say, or could you touch on kind of that story of her being Minnesota native, as well as what she can provide you with on the court?
Yeah. If I could first say that it had absolutely nothing to do with our pick, those are add-ons. That's the fun stuff for you all to, kind of round out the story, but it had nothing to do with our selection. It had everything to do with Hannah's efficiency, her analytics, positional fit. It was all of those things. And it just makes it fun to, obviously have that connection. But like I said, nothing to do with it. I hope it's fun for her. I think I saw, where she tweeted. We've got some people around our organization that are pretty darn excited. Jeff Municky has some ties to South Dakota, with his daughter there. And, I think all of that makes it fun for her. And I'm excited. Like I said, it's not the reason. It's just sort of, icing on the cake, if you will.
We'll go to Lucas.
Coach, you had mentioned that some of the analytics, particularly with Hannah, being a major factor in, why you selected her. When you look at a player of her caliber, obviously she was super successful with the Yotes, but playing against mid-major competition, how much did their run in like the past NCAA tournament influence that at all? Or is it just like, hey, she did this over the course of her whole career? Like how do you kind of balance that competition aspect?
I think it's helpful. We probably arrive here either way, but I like the opportunity that her team had, to experience the kind of the high level run in the NCAA tournament and show that mid majors what they can do. And so I thought that was helpful. The WNBA, like we were just talking about this, like people don't understand maybe the differences and how hard it is. That less than 1% of college players have a chance to play in the league. There's a lot of good college basketball players that don't get to reach that. It's a challenge, but I certainly think that the resume, the full resume of her career, and I like that she's a competitor. Again, I like that she shoots the three. And so, it's just one of those things. Come in here and see what you can do. And, if it works out with us, great. If it doesn't, you're showing off to other WNBA teams what you're capable of. Because who doesn't love a big that can score efficiently around the basket as well as shoot the three? And she likes to rebound. And the challenge will be pick and roll defense, like it always is for bigs as they come in. And the challenge will be the speed and quickness with which things happen and your ability to adjust to those. And we'll see what she can do.
Thank you.
We'll go to Eric next.
Coach, as always, I appreciate your time.
Hi, Eric.
How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Good. So I just wanted to kind of, piggyback off what everybody is saying. When you create this team, knowing that this is Sylvia's last season, was there an emphasis to make sure that you had enough talent in the pool so that way, I know you're getting feedback at a later point, but this team could sustain the expanded season into the playoffs?
Yeah, our roster is going to be pretty limited. We've talked about this, that, we'll be an 11-player roster. I don't see that changing. And Fia is one of 11. So we'll have 10 players on the roster. And so if we're not fully healthy out of the gates, we'll be in replacement player territory. So we're trying to have a lot of knowledge around if we don't have our full complement of players that we planned for, that are under contract, players that we signed in free agency, we'll be ready in the event that those things happen. We're not going to be able to have the depth that you would like to have. As I sit here and watch the Wolves practice today, and I see, players on both courts and, multiple players, and I'm going, okay, that's going to be like, we're going to be 1/3 of that, our practices. So it just is what it is. And, until our league can, expand and have better opportunities for the teams, then it is what it is from a challenge standpoint. And so we'll do the best that we can to manage it. It's going to be on our minds, but roster, adding to the roster is not going to be one of our options once we hit May 5th and we're practicing, getting ready for that first game. We're going to have 10 players.
We'll go to Leo.
Hey, Coach Reeves. So, we talked a little bit about depth, and so I wanted to also ask about the development of Renae Davis. Obviously, she's playing overseas right now, and she didn't get a chance to play last year with the team. And so do you kind of see her as a rookie coming into this year? Her first, obviously she had the chance to watch from the bench, but, coming in her first game action, how do you kind of see her role fitting in? Do you consider her, the same going to training camp to kind of gauge, or do you already have a good idea of what she's capable of doing now?
No, it's basically a rookie who's got a little bit more experience than the average rookie, because she did go overseas and play and got back from her injury, had a really nice overseas season. Her team did pretty well. She's back stateside now. We'll be seeing her actually, I believe tomorrow or the next day, she'll be back in market. And then we're excited to kind of see what she's about, because all of us say we really just don't know. We haven't been in the trenches yet with Renae as a pro. We know what we see. But, you know, being up close and personal and see how it fits, I think we're all excited to do that.
Do we have any other additional questions? No? All right. Go ahead.
Sorry, Coach Reeve, can I ask you, so on a scale of 1 to 10, like how comfortable do you feel, 10 being, you know, the most comfortable, you know, heading into, you know, training camp with, you know, the current set of players?
I feel like we learned from last year. So we've had different philosophies as the years have gone on. Some years you go, well, I don't really want 15. Because sometimes it can be, you know, kind of get in the way with players that, you know, aren't going to make the team. This year we put a premium on numbers. And so we have more invites to make to training camp. So undrafted rookies will be invited. You'll hear about those in the coming days. And so we will have depth at every position. We're going to make sure that we have a different scenario than what we had last year in training camp, where Sylvia Fowles was the only healthy player that we had. That's not going to happen. And we're going to make sure that Syl's not in a position to have to take all the reps because there aren't players there. Now we can't control what happens when they all get here, but we will have 15 in camp. And so, you know, those decisions have been made. How comfortable do I feel with the numbers? Great. I feel comfortable with the balance of position that we have. I feel comfortable with the competition that's gonna show itself. And so, yeah, I mean, we're excited for Sunday to get here and see how this all plays out.
All right. Thank you, Coach Reeve, for joining us this evening. For the rest of the media, the recording will be sent out later this evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.